Hey y'all, it's midnight and you know what that means. The house is quiet and it's time for the Midnight Quilt Show. I'm Angela Walters and I have a little confession for you. I've never been to a quilting retreat. I know, it's kind of crazy, right? But when I started quilting, my kids were younger and then now I travel so much it's hard to get one in. But not tonight. Tonight I'm gonna have my first ever solo retreat. That's not lame, is it? I'm looking at it as practice for when I get to go to my first real retreat. And tonight I'm working on Frequency, a quilt pattern designed by Monique Dillard that features Y seams. Why? Well, I figure it's as good a night as ever to master this skill that's been eluding me for so long. Let's get to it. So the kit for this quilt includes all the solids needed to make this beautiful quilt. And you can see here I have a range of different colors. Now what I love about kits is they already come organized, pre-selected, and ready to go. But what I found really amusing is that these are actually large strips cut out. So it's kind of like I can just go right to the cutting of the templates. Speaking of templates, this quilt uses templates. That's right, I not only get good at using templates, I'm gonna master those Y seams, but first, let me grab those. So, I already have my retreat stuff all set up with my Yazzii Quilter's Companion. It keeps everything nice and organized for me. So you have everything that I'll need. Rotary cutters, pins, thread, all the necessary stuff. There's my templates I'm going to need. It has my special portable drink, love that. And even some silicone wine glasses so that they can squish up. So cheers to a great retreat. But I'm realizing, oh, I forgot something, hold on. My special quilting tool. I got it, I couldn't hardly get anything done without this. I mean, it's not for quilting or anything, it's just my handy dandy corkscrew, should I need to pop open a new bottle of wine. All right, the great news is I have an extra one of these, so you might be able to win one. Just leave a comment below telling me what you would pack in your Yazzii Crafter's Companion, and we'll pick a lucky winner. Drinks not included. So I got my foldable cutting mat. See, I told you, I'm taking this retreat thing pretty seriously. For my templates, I have my template plastic, but I could use cardboard or something like that. I have the templates for the center star that I'm gonna work on. My very technical Scotch tape. Is there anything Scotch tape can't do? I don't think so. I'm just gonna tape it on there so I can cut it out without actually drawing it on there. It saves me a step, which is nice. And these are special template scissors. You can find them at the store. You have to look in the template making section. I'm just kidding. Even my jokes are funnier at retreat. I think I'm gonna like this. Now, if you're making this quilt, make sure when you print off the templates that you set the scaling to none, because you can end up with templates that are smaller than they need to be, but you don't realize until you're ready to put the whole quilt together. I mean, that's never happened to me on any other quilts or anything. All right, so I got my A almost cut out, and then my B. I might just line it up with one side so I don't have to cut, and trim that out. So I have my templates, I have my first piece of fabric, and I need my marking pen. I feel almost like a doctor with my toolkit. Quick, is there a quilter in the room? Okay, so I'm gonna lay this out. I need one of these A templates cut out of each of the colors. So I'm gonna position it where it needs to go and carefully trace it and cut it out. I love how this marking utensil has a dark lead and a white lead, so depending on the color, I don't have to pull out a different marking utensil, I can just use that. Then using my rotary cutter and my ruler, I'm gonna carefully cut that out. And I suppose I could cut multiple out at one time, but I don't know. The center of this quilt is pretty intricate. I don't want to mess it up with some wild cuttings, so I'm going to make sure I cut out each one nice and precisely. I've got all my A templates cut out with the different colors. I just have to cut out some white just like that and some of the B templates, and then we can finally see the center star come together. All right, I'm ready for these Y seams. I feel like I can do it. What I'm gonna do is first put these two pieces together, and I'm gonna sew along this seam. But a Y seam means that basically I'm not taking it all the way to the edge. I'm gonna need to stop about 1/4 of an inch short. So let's see how this works. So I sewed up to about 1/4 inch away from the edge, and then I backstitched just a little bit to help secure that thread. That way it doesn't unravel before I get the next piece in. So when I open this up, there's my Y seam right there, and I'm gonna take this triangle that insets in that area and then sew it to this side first, again stopping 1/4 of an inch away from that point. In theory, if this works out correctly, all those seams should come right together at that 1/4 inch line. Okay, next seam is done. Again, it comes about 1/4 inch. You can see right there, they almost just meet perfect because that next seam is gonna come in there and come to that point too. And I'm gonna do the same thing on that last seam. Let's see how it turns out. Maybe that's a good thing about a solo retreat, because if it doesn't turn out great, there's nobody here to witness it. I mean, except for you, of course. But you won't tell anybody, right? All right, let's see how that worked. That is not bad if I say so myself. Now all I have to do is sew the rest of my triangles and give it a quick press. Now that I got those Y seams out of the way, I'm gonna sew these triangles together. Thank goodness they're complete seams. There's no worrying about partial seams in this one. That's one beautiful triangle point. Now to do the other 8. Now the instructions in the pattern tell you which way to press these seams, but I think I'm gonna go ahead and press them open. I think it's gonna help me out because my piecing isn't exactly precise and it's gonna give me a little bit less bulk. So I'm gonna flip that over and try as hard as I can to press those seams just so with my little tiny iron. I feel like I have all the tools I need for a retreat. I've got my little mat, my little iron, and everything. Carefully, try not to burn myself. It's all fun and games till you burn your finger. I'm gonna flip it over, get one last little press from the top. We're gonna have a lot of fabric coming together to the center of this quilt, so I wanna make sure I have it as flat and as ironed as I can, which feels really weird coming out of my mouth because normally I'm like, just iron it real quickly. Now I'm gonna go ahead and iron all these up and I'll be ready to assemble the center of the quilt. So now we can see how beautiful the center of this quilt looks. I love all the different colors, and it's even neat how you have darker and lighter colors next to each other. It looks so fun. Oh, I think that's supposed to be switched. Oh, why? Why? Just kidding. I had the right one right here. That's how it's supposed to look. Now all I have to do is sew these together in wedges and then put those wedges together to form the center of the quilt. The quilt center is completed. I like how it looks, although I have to point out all this fabric coming into the center really makes it pretty bulky. In fact, if I flip it over, you can see where all those fabrics come together. There's 16 pieces of fabric, so that's gonna be pretty thick. But good thing I have a special trick to help flatten those out. But before I can show you, I have to go safety first. As you can tell, that's really gonna make it nice and flat. That's not really doing the trick. Instead, I'm gonna need a mallet. And look how positively flat that looks. Isn't it lovely? So I'm gonna add the corner squares and start adding those borders, and I'll come back and show you what it looks like when it's all done. So I have the quilt assembled, borders and all. And sorry I didn't show you that. We did a similar episode with the blooming medallion where we added the pieced borders, so you could check that out if you wanna see how pieced borders go on there. Now I'm gonna get this thing quilted, which means I need to make a quilt sandwich. I'll see you at the sewing machine. So in the borders of this quilt, I'm gonna quilt the wavy design. Now this is one that's in my shape by shape quilting book, and what I love about it is a very easy design to quilt and it adds a lovely texture. So what I'm gonna do is from one side of the border, I'm gonna quilt a wavy line diagonal to the other side. And then I'm gonna do another one to form almost like a triangle with wavy lines. Now these wavy lines don't have to be super wavy, they can just be whatever kind of wave they end up being. Now I'm gonna travel along the edge of the border just about 1/2 inch and quilt another wavy line up to that point. Now I wanna try to make the point closer than it is at the base of the triangle, and I'm gonna travel and do that again. So echo wavy lines in, making the points closer and then wider at the base. Once I'm done filling that triangle, I'm gonna travel along the edge of the border and quilt another wavy line at an angle to create an inverse triangle. Then I'm gonna travel along the edge and do the same thing, echoing and filling it in with those wavy lines. What's nice about this is that anybody can quilt a wavy line. If you don't think you can just quilt a straight line and I bet it will turn out wavy. Now what's fun about this design is even though I'm quilting triangles, it starts to take on almost a rectangular shape as I start filling in that area. Now turning the corner with this design is actually really easy as well. I'm gonna work my way to the inner corner of the border and quilt a line that's wavy at an angle towards the opposite corner of that border and fill in the triangle that that forms. It doesn't matter if the area is bigger than the other ones. Basically, the only thing I'm focusing on is keeping these lines the same distance apart. That's what's gonna give it its all over texture. And then once that's filled in, I'm gonna travel along the edge and continue on the other side of the border, quilting my wavy lines at an angle and filling it in. What I love about this design is I'm stitching in the ditch as I go. So it's like I'm stabilizing the quilt and quilting the design at the same time. Now this is a very versatile design because you can actually use it in blocks as well. I'm gonna go ahead and quilt this in the white triangle in the center of the quilt. Starting from one corner of the block, I'm gonna quilt a wavy line that fills in in that one side of the triangle. Then just like I did in the border, I'm gonna travel along the edge and quilt another wavy line, again keeping the points closer than the base, traveling, echoing, and filling it in. What's nice is this not only has a great texture, but it really draws your eye to the center of the quilt, which is really the most important part. Now once that triangle is filled in, I'm gonna travel along the bottom edge and get to the next triangle where I'm gonna repeat the same thing, quilting my wavy lines and traveling to fill it in. It really is a quick and versatile design. I love to use it in several different places on my quilts. All right, let's see how it's looking. Like I said, I love this design and how much texture it adds to the quilt. Plus, it's definitely a bonus that it quilts so quickly, filling up that space, quickly moving on. Now I'm gonna get to quilting on this quilt, and since there's so many different shapes and so many different areas, I'm sure I'm gonna have fun coming up with different designs. But don't worry, I put together some quilting diagrams so you can see exactly what I've done where. Now this is definitely the up all night version where I put a little bit more complexity into the quilting. But if you want to turn in early option, I think doing wavy lines over the whole quilt would look lovely. To find out where you can get those free quilting diagrams, just check out the information in the description box below. Well, I'm gonna finish quilting this. I'll see you when it's finished. Well, even if that was a solo retreat for one, I'd still call it a success. I had a lot of fun learning how to use templates, work with a lot of fun colors, and of course my favorite part, the quilting. Getting to use that wavy design in borders and blocks, tons of fun. Don't forget to enter the Yazzii Crafters Companion giveaway. Just leave a comment down there below telling me what kind of games you play at your retreat. Well, be sure to subscribe and I'll see you next time on the Midnight Quilt Show.